What is up, Janksters? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42 on the internet, and today we have another edition of the Overthinking MTG podcast. And today we're doing something old and new. Old in the sense that this is actually a random card that we're looking at, and new in that I didn't pick it myself. So what I did was actually hit the random card button 4 separate times and actually put up a poll on YouTube asking you, dear viewers / listeners, what random card of all the random cards I hit you'd like to hear me talk about. And after 73 votes, we have found that Dreamshaper Shaman is the card that y'all would like to talk to me about. Sorry, Banehound, your day may come someday. We shall see. But Dreamshaper Shaman is a weird card. And it is one that, it's interesting, of all the random cards, this is the one that that I'm here talking about today. Because I want to like this card. As a janky brewer, I want to like this card a lot. It does the things I like all of them. It does, I feel like I'm the target audience for this card, and so the fact that it still doesn't work even for me really bums me out. And I did try brewing around this back when it was legal in Standard, and the overwhelming response that I got, the overwhelming sense that I got every single time I actually cast it or had it stranded in my hand was just, wow, this isn't worth it. And that's the bottom line. So Dreamshaper Shaman, now that I've given you kind of my impressions, what does it do? What the heck is this thing? So it is a 5/4 Minotaur Shaman for 5 and a red. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 2 and a red and sacrifice a non-land permanent. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land permanent card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So this is cheating big stuff into play, in theory. So if I am successful in executing this, I drop a 6-drop creature, so I already have to pay 6 mana just to have it online. It then needs to survive with only 4 toughness, which is asking a lot at that phase in the game, no matter what format you're in, really. And then you have to pay 2 a red and sacrifice something. Honestly, for the amount of mana that you have to invest in this and the amount of hoops you have to jump through to make this thing fire, honestly, that should just say pay 2 and a red. Then do the thing. Why do I need to sacrifice anything? Honestly, I feel like that's excessive. I mean, I understand then if you were not sacrificing objects, this would be straight up giving you card and battlefield advantage. But I believe at the price, it should. And on top of that, this card isn't super old. It came out from Theros Beyond Death, which was a number of years ago now, and there has been noticeable power creep in that time, to be sure. But honestly, I mean, this was in Standard at the same time as Eldraine. I mean, OG Eldraine. This is, the power level could have been higher on this. Because this, I can't even imagine, in Limited, I don't even think it's, I feel like I tried it in Theros Beyond Death Limited. I did draft that set quite a bit back in the day. And I think I tried it once, and it was just hot garbage. Yeah, and as a result, this card's worth about 4 cents. And that's right. So, perfect scenario. Let's just walk through this situation. So, let's assume I have the Dreamshaper Shaman online. It's a 6-drop. I've somehow got it onto the field. It does only cost 1 red in its mana value, so it's splashable. That's something. I'm looking for silver lining where we can get it, folks. So if I have this 6-drop online, I then need to have one other something. I then need to pay 3 mana on my end step. So it's a triggered ability. I don't choose when it happens. Happens on the end step. I can't do it at instant speed, sack something that was going to die, whatever the case may be. So on the end step, I can pay 3. I sacrifice a non-land permanent, so just something. I then reveal cards from the top of my library until I reveal a non-land permanent. Now, I don't have any choice over what that thing is. So another way they could have modified this to make it stronger is, instead of reveal cards from the top until you reveal a thing, search your library for a non-land permanent and put it onto the battlefield. It would function very similar to the Thran Portal, I believe is the one I'm thinking of. No, Temporal Gateway, isn't Thran Portal? There's one where you pay 8 and go grab any permanent and just jam it on the field. It would be similar to that, but honestly, given the hoops you have to jump through and the fact that you are locked to a color, I wouldn't be mad at that. Although, flavorfully, I suppose, that would allow red to be precise and premeditated. And that would be weird from a flavor perspective. That said, there are plenty of decks out there that leverage cards like Transmogrify, where you only have like one target that it can go grab, or Indomitable Creativity. These are cards that we've seen that have a similar effect where you're converting one thing on the battlefield into another thing, except in these cases, these spells are relatively cheap. They're easy to pull off, and you can design in such a way that you can hit like a treasure token and go grab the only artifact in your deck, which happens to be, you know, Portal to Phyrexia or a Cityscape level or whatever you want to hit. I mean, the amount of stuff, and actually, I mean, with creativity decks, it's oftentimes you see specific combos where people are using Indomitable Creativity to get like a 2-card combo online, and they're leveraging treasure tokens or creature tokens that were made from non-permanent spells in order to like decide what they're hitting. So in that case, you have to do a lot of deck prep to make these red spells actually kind of premeditated and precise, because on their face, they're very chaotic. If you just jam it into any commander deck, you never know what you're gonna hit with these. And Dreamshaper Shaman is very much the same in that regard. The problem with a lot of it is, the biggest difference, so Transmogrify, for example, this is a pretty simple one. You exile a creature, and then that creature's controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. You put that card on, or they put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Shuffle the rest into their library. So in this case, the use case is I make a little goblin token, I exile a little goblin token I don't care about, and then go fetch up my 1 of Craterhoof Behemoth, or my 1 of Agent of Treachery, or my 4 of Agents of Treachery, which are the only creatures in the deck, and then, you know, and therefore the only viable targets for Transmogrify, and we just go to town. With Dreamshaper Shaman, that kind of setup is literally impossible because you have Dreamshaper Shaman in your deck. And so Dreamshaper Shaman can always go find you another copy of Dreamshaper Shaman. Oh boy, we get more of them. How exciting is this, right? So, and for a 9 mana investment, it's 6 to play, 3 to activate. 9 mana to grab a random permanent, which could just be another copy of Dreamshaper Shaman, and just put it on the field. It's just not worth it. Like classic reanimator strategies, even with like the modern pricing where it usually costs 5 mana to get a reanimator something, that's usually more consistent and far easier to pull off than this. And that's just one example. We also have the other chaotic effects as previously mentioned. There's tons of ways to cheat stuff out. We also have cards, actually one I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, from the new Lord of the Rings set. And I didn't have this prep, so enjoy that clickety-clack. Doors of Durin. This is an example of a way to cheat stuff out in a thematic way that fits within the red color identity really, really well. So this is red and green for a legendary artifact that says whenever you attack, you scry 2. Then you may reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature, you put it onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. And until your next turn, it gains trample if you control a dwarf, and hexproof if you control an elf. That last sentence, you can ignore that completely. This is like straight up sneak attack off the top of your deck. And it's 5 mana. And the only hoops you need to jump through for this is that you need to be attacking. That's it. You just have to attack with a something. And you get a creature online tapped and attacking. And if you happen to have, you know, dwarves and elves lying around, it gets additional bonuses. So neat, I guess. So, and that's just 5 mana. This is an artifact. It's just 5 mana. You just drop it. It sits there. And this isn't even a particularly, like, of all the cards that people are talking about in Lord of the Rings that are gonna like break different formats and should be preemptively banned or whatever nonsense people are shouting about, Doors of Durin is not in the conversation. This is not an overly powerful card by today's standards. And it's a 5-drop that can cheat stuff in so much faster, so much more efficiently, and in a way that makes a significantly bigger impact. And you're not going down cards with this. Granted, you may attack with a creature that is going to die in combat. Like, that might happen. And you may not spin into what you're looking for. So there's an element of chaos there. But honestly, I feel like when you compare things like Doors of Durin, or you know, compared to Dreamshaper Shaman, it's just no contest. This card, it just costs too much. Honestly, if Dreamshaper Shaman, if they took this exact same card, made an artifact that cost 1 red. No stats, just an artifact for 1 red with this ability. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 2 and a red, sack a non-land permanent if you do reveal cards from the top until you reveal a permanent card. That, I think, would probably be, that might be a little too powerful. But honestly, even that, I feel like, maybe you put on a 1/1 body. I don't know, but like, I feel like it just needs to be cheaper. It just needs to be cheaper. Maybe you put it on a 2/2 for 3. Maybe that's the sweet spot. Because then you're probably not going to be able to cast it the first turn it comes down. You're not going to be able to activate it the first turn it comes down unless it's very late in the game. Yeah, and you drop it early, it is vulnerable to removal. Because as it stands, a 6-drop, bottom line, if you learn nothing from these incoherent ramblings, Dreamshaper Shaman suffers from a very real problem with a lot of good jank cards, or cool and intriguing jank cards, that makes them not good. It's a setup piece that costs 6. Honestly, by the time you're looking at 6-drops, I'm going to be, if I'm cheating stuff onto the battlefield, I want 6-drops or higher to be the things I'm cheating in, not the setup for the cheat-ins. At that point, I'd rather just cast the spell. Honestly, at this point, I would rather just cast a decent 6-drop at this point than play Dreamshaper Shaman. Don't play expensive setup pieces. Because this is a setup piece that like you're gonna have to reanimate to then trigger and cheat something else in if you want it to work on any level, and then you're just jumping through an extra hoop just cause, and that's just silly. Like, so anyway, as a jank brewer, I love the idea of this card a lot. It's intriguing, it's inspiring, but it doesn't get there. It's just too expensive. Bottom line, yeah. So thank you so much for checking out this video. I appreciate it very, very much. Or this podcast, or if you're listening in audio. And however you're listening to it, be aware that it is available on YouTube as well as in audio form anywhere podcasts are available. Overthinking MTG. So thank you so much for checking this out. I do appreciate it, and I will catch you on the next one.